Good morning. My name is Dorcas Soita. I am a proud atheist and a member of Skeptics and Atheists Society of Kenya. Today we are talking about why is it so hard to live religion. And what informed this topic was what we see around us. Kenya is a religious country. 80% of us in this country are Christians. 15% are Muslims. The remaining 5% is split among Buddhists, Hindus, African traditionalists, the eclectic spiritualists, and us, dear atheists. You find that this disproportionate number of non-believers is a sign that perhaps there is a difficulty or there are certain hurdles people encounter when they consider living religion. There are other individuals who have actually discovered that religion is false. They've realized that there is no evidence for a God. You can't hear him, you can't see him, you can't feel him, you can't detect him, and everything that is attributed to God can be explained by more natural reasons. They've already discovered that, but they can't live religion because there are certain forces in place that are keeping them there. That's what we're going to discuss today. We will begin with people's personal experiences. You can tell us, why was it hard for you to live religion in your particular case? Why was it hard for you? But if it wasn't hard for you, then tell us what is unique about you that made it relatively easy to live religion. I'll start with myself. When I started questioning and I started looking at the cracks in the wall of religion, I started looking at some biblical verses that just did not make sense, and they were contradicting basic human rights or science. I started now looking at other sources of information to find out whether my suspicions are true or not. However, what I found was that I was scared. I was scared to leave the church because my identity had been formed around Christianity. My community was a Christian community. We used to have Bible study in my house, and I was actually a Bible study leader in my church. We used to have home fellowships. So I was like, oh my gosh, these people will no longer be in my life if I do more research and confirm that religion is false. I wouldn't have a fallback around me. And I remember how our church was so supportive when it came to sick people. Like if you would fall sick, the church would do a fundraiser and they would clear your medical bill. The church had very rich guys. In fact, if you saw the parking lot, you would think that this is a car bazaar. So that community to me, it was so strong. Like it gave me a big incentive to stay in the fold, even after I had discovered that religion was false. It was so hard for me because of that one element, until I got to a point where I said, you know what, Dorcas, you cannot be a hypocrite. You cannot be espousing one thing but believing another. I can't live a lie. And that's when I decided to cut the cord. But it was very difficult because of that one element. So let's hear from you guys as well. What was your story? Why was it hard for you to live religion? Before we get into now the general reasons for other individuals.
Living religion, it was not hard, and it was also not easy, because I only used to know that there are like 3 religions in this planet. But I think now access to information was the only thing I needed. access to information of what other people in other countries worship. Like when I realized that there are actually over 4,000 religions in this planet, and I just happened to be in one of them. That's how I started now questioning what is this, what is how if I was born in China, would I be really a Christian, or if I was born in Saudi Arabia, would I be a Christian? So this questions just started coming to my mind, and that's how I slowly started deconstructing and leaving religion, when I realized it's just nothing but a geographical accident where whoever you worship depends on where you are born. So it was, I think right now, it is much easier right now because of there is a lot of access to information that is in the internet, where youths have access to every information they need. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Shiro, an atheist. So for me, it wasn't that difficult to leave a religion because I have never really been a church goer. So most of my life I haven't gone to church. But as Dorcas stated, the sense of the community is what makes it difficult to leave religion. Because I remember there was a time I had gone to Nyeri, so there was no friends, no family. I was kind of alone. And I discovered most of the times I was alone and I needed a community. So what did I do? I started going to church because I found the youth group there were very accommodative and interesting. So that for me was a reason to go to church, even though I didn't believe. So, but now it changed when I moved out of there.
For me, I was 10 years old when I saw a program on TV about evolution. So I was intrigued by that. It made more sense. It was called Making of Mankind. So it made more sense than Adam and Eve. So I started living religion slowly by slowly. So I stopped going to church. I used to stay out, when there's mass, I used to stay outside the church. I never used to go in. If I was punished by my dad because of not going to church. Because I saw science making more sense than religion. So now from then on, I've been following science. I'm a skeptic. So for me, it wasn't that hard. I think it was easy. Thanks.
For myself as pastor because I'm just aspired pastor. I stopped preaching. I was preaching across the country and having church. But the moment I realized I was just following the myth, which is contradicting to the reality, I stopped believing those things and I start believing in reality and in what? In anything that you have approved. But anything that you have no evidence, I stop believing it until evidence is presented. So, but for me, living religion was not a problem. I never passed any difficulties. I don't know whether it's because of the nature of my work. I don't rely too much the customer. They were telling me not to denounce publicly because the people may call that family devil worshiper. So they were fearing that name. But I told them I don't care. Those who try to tell your brother is a devil worshiper, give them my number. I will explain to them. So nothing could hinder me because my work was safe. I was not worried about society. So that is why for me it was easy, but I understand for many people it's very difficult. In fact, when your father or your mother, your parent is the breadwinner, they are the one who are schooling you, who are paying for your school fees, among other things. You may feel it difficult, or the company you are working is religious based, or some other issue. You may feel it difficult to live religion, and you end up pretending to be a religious person for the sake of those benefits.
I'm Musembi Matifo. I like calling myself Musembi Matifo because I don't like the Hebrew name I had before. I became a Christian, let me say, by inheritance if that is a good English. Because I was born in a Christian family, then I became a Christian automatically. I went through, in fact, I can say I became an active Christian at primary 7, where I was leading the so-called PP High by then. From there, I went on to middle school. I became also the leader of CU, that is Christian Union. From there, I came to town, and then I started preaching the gospel, as they say, the gospel of Christ. At some time, I met a man by the name of Apostle Kiande. Apostle Kiande is in fact, we were with that man for like 7 years, preaching from city to city, from country to country, like we have been, we had moved through Eastern Africa countries, preaching what was the so-called the gospel of hope, the gospel of Jesus Christ, telling them that somebody died for our sins. But throughout that time, I was undergoing what they call brain plasticity. I was now trying to digest some ideas from the book. At a place called Mulolongo at Mombasa Road, I had enough time. Can remember it's like 7 years toward 10 years since I left the church, and then I was now held back by what will the people say. Yes, I want to leave. I've known the things I'm telling. For example, I could tell somebody next year, time like now, you'll be in America. I remember 2019, was it 2019, at the arrival of Corona, pastors in churches were telling people next year, like now, you pass you do the KCSE. The schools were closed at, when was that? March. You can remember what you were telling them. The Lord has shown me that. So now you see, I came to realize it's like I'm telling people things which I cannot verify. So what I will do, I will step out of the church, and then again I will stop believing in God and Satan, because now, for all those years, let me now be sincere, for all those years, I never experienced the simple touch of either Satan or God. Nothing. So whoever is telling us that we are lost, we have missed the way, I want to ask them, the way to where? We have missed the way to where? So leaving the church was somehow difficult, because I was scared of losing the associates. I was scared of losing some of our sponsors, as Dorcas said. Is it Dorcas or ex-pastor? I was scared of being, there is something they call excommunication, because your family can as well excommunicate you.
Wow. Hey. Yani, we have evangelists here. He was spreading the word. Now he's spreading atheism. We are lucky to have you, Musembi, in our midst. Wow, you have touched on so many things, and even the rest of the speakers have mentioned a number of issues which I would like us to delve a little deeper into. And for the sake of structure, I think we can divide these reasons into 3. They could be social reasons. Some social reasons behind people staying in religion. Some of them might know that religion is false. Others don't even go there. They never even attempt to investigate whether their beliefs are true or not. They are still in the chokehold of religion. There are social reasons for that. There are psychological or mental reasons. To the believers, they call them spiritual reasons, but for us, we will call them psychological reasons. And he's actually mentioned one, which is fear, the fear of punishment from God or even going to hell. That's a psychological reason to keep people in the faith. Then we also have political reasons. So let's start with the social one, because I've had that as a recurring theme in most of the discussions you people have said. What are some social factors that trigger staying within religion, or that make it so hard to leave religion, to deconstruct, to investigate anything about religion?
For me, what I'll say, like Shiro just said, I joined a youth group myself. I was an atheist and a skeptic, and I joined a youth group, a Catholic youth group, as an atheist and a skeptic, because I wanted a community. I was lonely, so I joined them like a hypocrite. I used to hide, but we used to sing, we used to dance, but I wanted that community, that sense of community, so I couldn't leave them. But then in the end, I felt so guilty. I felt like a pretender, so I had to leave them in a secret way. But now, my point is that sense of community is what makes it religion vital. So that us, we're 7 of us here. We're in a group of, we have a group in WhatsApp. We are so many, but we're only 7 of us here, which means we're lacking community. So now religion provides community. So that's why I think people don't leave things.
One of the biggest social reasons why it is hard for people to leave religion, it's this monster called indoctrination, where when you are born, your parents are of this particular religion, and they start indoctrinating you when you are now 2 or 3 years. You are able to at least speak a bit fluently, or you've started walking. Your parents now start indoctrinating you every day, like if it's a Christian or it's a Muslim. They take you to a Sunday school every Sunday. The Muslims, they take you to madrasa every Friday, or I think the Muslims it used to be daily for the little children. After you've come back from school, you do this and that, then you go now to madrasa again for another 1 hour before you come back home at 7. It's this thing called indoctrination, where now after you've gone through that system for years, when you are now 18, 19, 20 years, when you are now you can now stand for your own, that indoctrination has already clouded your judgment like a lot. Like it is even impossible for you to think that there's someone who cannot believe in a God somehow. That's why when I'm debating with some Christians or Muslims, they usually say, you have to believe in something. No, you don't have to believe in something. You don't have to. That indoctrination clouds your judgment to think that you must believe in something. Like you can find a Christian has no problem with a Muslim believing in a God, or a Hindu believing, but he has a problem with an atheist who does not believe in their their own God. They just want you to believe in something, and that's what indoctrination does. It clouds your judgment to think that someone must believe in something. That's why also Muslims, when they see an atheist has left Christianity, they tell you, have you tried Islam? You don't know. I have not tried, and I don't want to try it, because you don't have to. I don't have to believe in something. So this thing called indoctrination, it is a monster which should be done with. And secondly, religious education in our high schools and primary schools. This thing also, I think, it also contributes partly, and that's why I'm of the opinion that religious education should be taught as one subject, where Islam, Hinduism, Christianity is one subject. If it is one subject, at least other people can have access to information of other religions. Like I never had any access to information of other religions apart from these three that I knew. And that's how indoctrination and religious education makes it impossible or a bit hard for people to leave religion.
In fact, I put myself in that shoe. I said, see, I'm driving the V8 from the church. I live in Karen, courtesy of church. I cannot live. Even if I know that God is the most useless idea, I cannot say so. I will stand and advocate for that God till the end. Because of that, because of what church is providing and the benefit I'm getting from the church. Now, that is one. The other one is, as my brother said, we are suffering. Most of us, we were suffering, and the Christian up to date, they are suffering from what we call the simple story. Since from the shout, you only have only one thing, that Jesus is final. And if somebody comes up and tells you, no, we have Muhammad, that's nonsense. No, we have Krishna. You are sick. So with that simple story, you only know one thing and nothing else. Anyway, you don't compare things.
When you realize religion is just a myth or is fake, you will not be able to quit. Many people are not able to quit because of that need. They need that community that give them the meaning of the life, or that comfort them, or they can be able to share the idea. So if you remain alone, I don't know how you will be able to share your idea, or how you will be able to express your feeling with the other if they have alienated you, or they have run away from you. That is why many people tend to remain in religious assemblies despite not believing the same thing. And that is, I think that is because of selfish, because you don't want to be left alone, or maybe you are gaining something from your parent or from a certain donor. You don't want to lose that, so you must pretend to be in the same beliefs. And again, you have spoken about the pastor that say he cannot leave the benefit from the church. That preacher was from Nyeri, a priest. That pastor, I asked him, why do you believe this, and you know are not in alignment with what the Bible says? So he admitted and said, I agree, what you are saying is right. What I'm following is not from the scripture, but I do this because of my daily bread. So he's working in that church, doing things he knows is not written in the Bible, to obey the denomination, not because he wants to please God, but because he wants to earn a living. I say, so you rather earn a living than pleasing your God? He said yes. And that is where we end the conversation. Because for me, I was valuing to obey the scripture to please God. But for him, was after money. So the same case today. When you realize there is no God, but when you declare, or when you say it public, you lose some benefit. You will end up pretending. And that is how many people are doing. Some people have been talking to them and they admit, yes, we know this and this, but we don't say that. Like my nephew, he admitted and he said, in fact, even when I was a pastor, he was telling me, but this thing, I not believe. But I will not believe him. But even today, he have never went to church, but he have never criticized religion. He have never said there is no God.
Yeah, we have a lot of closeted atheists out there who are wearing the mask of religion. Let me add a few more social reasons on top of the very powerful points that the rest of you have shared. One of them is discrimination or stigma against atheists. I think many people hold atheists in poor regard because of their holy texts. You know, their holy texts are monotheistic. God says you shall have no other God than him. You shall worship no other God than himself. And there are also other verses in scripture which say that only a fool says there is no God. You know, they demonize us as atheists. You are raised to believe that being an atheist is the worst thing ever. Right? So because of that stigma, even the person who is doubting, they don't have concrete proof that religion is false, but they are doubting. They don't take it any further because they are scared of how society is going to treat them as non-believers. Then there's also the issue of family. Most families create their identities around religion. My friend was telling me the other day, she's deconstructing, by the way she's been talking and all, she's deconstructing, she's on her way out of religion. But when she went to visit her parents, the parents were like on Saturday night, oh yeah, which mass are we going to? Are we going for the 9 o'clock or the 11 o'clock? You know, they just assume. Yeah. Or if it is time to eat, please, Stano, can you pray for us? The family, it's just a part of who they are. So it becomes very difficult to have that conversation and tell them, hey, you know what, mom, you know what, grandma, I don't believe, because it's ingrained in our families. Then there's the issue of morals. Most Kenyans think that being religious is synonymous with being moral. You know, when single women are looking for a husband, they will say, I need a man who is financially stable, who is tall, and who is God-fearing. Or if somebody, a politician, has been accused of committing a certain misdeed, he will say, "Wait, Mimi, I'm a God-fearing man. I niliokoka." Or so some people even use that disguise. Like there was a guy back in I think the 2000s, Kamlesh Patni, who had been accused of corruption. And he went and gave his life to Christ so that he can sanitize his image. Nowadays it's called Brother Paul. Yeah. So we associate morality with Christianity, yet nothing could be further from the truth. In fact, Christian morals are outdated. They require us to treat women as second-class citizens, and they also focus on many unscientific ideas. So it has been bypassed with time, but we are still stuck in that mind frame of morality being synonymous with religion. Another social reason is the social institutions like marriage, funerals, naming ceremonies. All of those are monopolized by religion. Someone will ask themselves, so when I die or when I lose my loved one, who is going to bury them if I leave the faith? Or who is going to preside over my wedding? And they hold on to religion because of that. And I think the last one that I'm going to mention is, this one somebody has already stated it. It's okay. Let me not belabor that point. So as we continue, let's also remember whatever we say, we will give solutions in the end, because we are not here to just complain. We are here to make society better. And we are not going to pay homage to something that is false. We know religion is false, and just because it is hard to live it doesn't mean that people should stay in religion. Yeah, let's try and offer solutions, and hopefully you who is watching at home might find use in some of those solutions that we will give. But don't give the solutions yet. Let's first talk about those reasons. Let's proceed to the next one, which is the mental reasons why it is hard to live religion. The mental or psychological. Here, I can think of things like miracles, dreams, mystic experiences, and critical thinking, or logical fallacies, comfort, fear of hell, the discomfort with unknowns as human beings, etc. So let's explore some of those.
I joined one company at Kikuyu lately, and then on my arrival, with my boldness, I introduced myself as somebody who does not believe in anything. Then some of them said I should be taken to Mathare quickly, and some of them agreed with me that some things are making sense. So now somebody asked me a very innocent question, that if I steal, I asked the question, why do you ask the person, why do you ask that question? He said, if you don't fear God or fear hell, why can't you just go around and steal? So I was asking myself, let me consult, what is the percentage of Christian in Kenya, for example? Anybody can remember? 80%. I think it's 85. Now, with that percentage, 85% of 58 million is a very large number, very mammoth number. But now see, count with me. Kenya is full of corruption. Kenya is full of umalaya. Kenya is full of watu kuwa kidnapped na kuwawa. Kenya is full of every bad things. With 85% of 58 million are Christian. They believe in God. If morals, if morals are to be taken all from the church, I think these people are lying to us. In fact, this Kenya should be the safest place to live in because majority believes in God. It should be a very safe place. In fact, nowadays, if you find yourself, for example, if you walk along Nairobi at night, what are you scared of most? Lions? No. Hyenas? No. You are scared of people. And the majority are the Christian. Now, what's wrong? Some morals now they are lying to us. So like that person was asking me if I steal. So I don't steal. We don't steal. It's not because we are scared of God. We know what is painful to our fellow human beings, or rather, what is painful to us is also painful to our fellow human beings. So they should style up sometimes. That lifestyle is outdated, as my fellow friend said. Yes.
Okay, and to add on to that also, morality does not come from religion. Morality comes from the conscience that you are born with, because every human being is born with a conscience, and also the empathy that you learn with when you are still young, when you are interacting with other people. So monopolizing morality to religion is something fallacious and should be done away with. So about these mental reasons, what comes to my mind is about this thing of heaven and hell. Heaven and hell, it's this fear that has been instilled in people, that if you do not believe in God, he'll go and burn you in a certain place they call hell. And someone telling you that he has never even died, by the way. He has never died. And which also brings me to question, if you as a Christian or you as a Muslim, you really are sure that you are going to hell, you are going to heaven, and not hell. I wonder why they go ecstatic, or they celebrate when they avoid death. Don't you want to die and go and see your maker, the person you worship? That shows that they're not even sure in the first place. But this fear mongering of heaven and hell, it's one of those things that makes living religion a bit hard, because even I've discussed with some Muslims who say that now if hell and heaven were not real, imagine someone like Hitler, who did atrocious acts. Doesn't he deserve punishment? And I told him, of course he deserves punishment, but then in life you don't always get what you want. Hitler might have committed atrocities, but in the end, didn't he die also? He did that. So this thing of heaven and hell is just wishful thinking that is installed in these religious people to think that if they don't do this or that, there'll be punishment to pay when they are no longer in this world. That's how it makes it difficult for them even to question this God that they worship.
Comfort. So that when you're told that when somebody dies, you'll see them in an afterlife. It's very comforting. So that's the reason that people stick to religion. Because this person has died, but who cares? I'll see him in the afterlife. So that comfort will keep you in religion. Yes.
Yeah, I think what we are being fed since we are born, that is what disturbs us, or disturb people, even after they have left the religion. Sometimes you may find yourself dreaming. Sometimes you may think God is visiting you, or devil is approaching you, and yet you believe he does not exist. But because of that, what you are being fed, sometimes when you are dreaming, you may feel them because of what you have fed your brain. So it disturbs people a lot, and it brings some fear, and that is why we find when people left the religion, they still feel as if they are not comfortable, as if there is a punishment waiting for them, or as if there is something that is lacking in them. Some people, for example, like Ayani Nisi, he was a Muslim. Huh?
Ayan Harsi.
Oh, Ayani Halisi. Yeah, that name is a woman from Somalia, yes. But is a politician. So he decided to left the religion of Islamic and become atheist. But while he was advocating against religion, for me, I think the reason that he came to Christianity is because of political reason. But to her, she claimed it's because she feels she lacks something. She lacks some spiritual, some psychological way. So, and that is the thing that is affecting many people. They feel they lack something, those psychological issues in them, and they decided to come back to religion or to keep following the religion despite having no reason to believe in those things. Thank you.
I think there are certain individuals who are experiencing mental challenges, and maybe they feel depressed, maybe they feel unfulfilled, they feel like they lack a sense of meaning, and they look to religion as the answer. They say that religion is what accords them that. You mentioned Ayan Harsi Ali. I know of another atheist that I used to follow ardently called Apostate Prophet. He's an ex-Muslim, and he's got such good points against Islam, even up to now. But he reconverted to Christianity. Now he switched from being an atheist and became an Orthodox Christian. He attributes it to his partner because he's married to a Christian woman. She kept influencing him and nudging him on about it. But also he said that he used to feel empty, he used to feel depressed and sad. But then when he went to the church, he said he experienced this sense of joy and peace. So this aspect of mental health, I think, is an important pulling force for some people. They have been handed that narrative that religion will give you peace, it will give you joy and happiness, and they've been convinced that that is the only way to do it. But I put it to you that they are wrong. There are several other ways of finding meaning, joy, and fulfillment, and happiness, which we will explore when we look at the solutions to some of these barriers to living religion. And in close association with that is the idea of comfort and things that you know. The familiar is always more comfortable. We have the saying, better the devil you know than the angel you don't. Yes, to them the devil is the enemy, but we can replace the devil with God. Better the God you know than the atheism that you don't. So that idea of comfort is very important in keeping people in the fold. Then there are things like miracles that happen to individuals. Somebody says that they were sick, and then they prayed to God and they were delivered from their sickness. Or something happened, something out of the ordinary happened to them, and they attribute it to God, to religion. So they say, I can't leave God when he gave me this miracle. But we had this discussion. We actually dedicated an entire video shoot to the idea of miracles, and we also discussed it in Zoom meetings. Miracles are non-verifiable and unrepeatable. You don't first of all measure the person. You don't test the person before the miracle happened and then check them out after the miracle happened, especially for those charismatic preachers like Prophet Owori. Nobody ever follows up on those people who give testimonials that they were healed miraculously, courtesy of the mightiest prophets of God. Yeah, so they're not verifiable in that regard. Then for the other people who experience miracles, so most of these miracles are unremarkable. It is somebody who had some condition that disappeared. They got healed. Usually, the body is capable of healing itself. By the way, this instrument we have is very mysterious. So sometimes the body is capable of healing itself, or sometimes the person actually went to a hospital and it is the doctors and the treatment that healed them, but they falsely attribute it to God and they call that a miracle. If it's a real miracle, why can't we have Mount Everest move from Nepal and come right here in Nairobi, Kilimani? Yeah, that would be a miracle. I would find it hard to believe religion when such a miracle happens. But these are remarkable small things that could either be explained by random chance or by a natural explanation, something you actually did to cause the result. They are off-handed. Another explanation is dreams. You remember there was this case in the news some time back of this family that says their loved one died, but then she came back to them in a dream and she told them where to find the bodies of femicide victims. People who experience such dreams, they tend to cling to religion. But what I would tell them is that dream is not verifiable. It's just your experience that you had, and you are having a dream at a suboptimal time when your brain is not at its peak. So you can't depend on it. And it is a mere coincidence that whatever you dreamt about came to be. Very often, I have dreamt of things. I dreamt that the Wi-Fi people in my house, I've moved houses, I dreamt that the Wi-Fi people would disappoint me. The next day they disappointed me. So should I now believe that it is the Holy Spirit that was talking to me, the power of God? No, these are just coincidences. They saw a religious figure, maybe they saw Muhammad or they saw Buddha, if they belong to those religions. And again, we had this discussion in the past. We said that the brain is at a suboptimal level when you are having a near-death experience, or when you are dreaming, or when you are having that spiritual experience. You know, you are in church, there's that euphoria, you're singing worship songs, and there's that expectation from the pastor. All of that creates this reaction. And the same experience that you're having as a near-death experience can be recreated using natural means, such as drugs, psychedelics, mushrooms. You know, those drugs, you're told that you can see God. LSD, you can see God. So if there's a natural explanation for a certain observation, we go with the natural explanation because that one can be verified, vis-a-vis the supernatural explanation, which we cannot verify. We cannot see this God, we cannot detect him. So we go with what we can observe. It's a natural explanation that they are claiming. It's not really God. But that is a strong reason for some people to stay in religion, a strong mental reason. The last one that I would like to highlight is the exploitation of fear. There are various categories of fear that human beings have. We have a fear of change. We don't like new things. We like the familiar. And religion promises you that it will keep things the same. Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. We have a fear of immorality. Religion promises you that it will solve that problem. But as we said, religious morality has all of these holes which we need to overcome through secular morality. So it gives you that definite answer. We have a fear of death, which Morioki spoke about, and religion gives you a very certain answer. It tells you that you will either go to heaven or hell. and you believe it. But belief doesn't turn a false thing into a true thing. I can believe that I have 1 million in my account, but that won't make it appear in my account. I can believe there's a heaven or hell, but that won't make it the case. So religion exploits those fears, and it makes people, even the fear of where we are going, or where it all began. Most people are uncomfortable with not knowing. So religion gives you very definite answers, but those answers are false, they are unscientific, they are unverifiable. But in the mind of the believer, they are satisfactory. So those are the ones I needed to highlight.
It's a very common reason called cognitive dissonance. Like your eyes see one thing, but your brain can't process that information the right way, so to speak. So there is this kind of a conflict within yourself. Like you kind of like can see where the evidence leads, but your mind is holding back. Now religion tends to offer some sort of comfort throughout those conflicts. So someone chooses, yes, maybe the evidence might be showing me 1, 2, 3, but religion is giving me the kind of comfort I need. So someone chooses to stick. The other one is emotional attachment. Like people get attached to things. People get attached to so-called bad things. Like you find people in bad relationships and they can't live. It's not like they are not using their minds, but they are attached to that thing. And it's connected to this thing, I think it's called the fallacy of sunk cost or something. Mm-hmm. You're like, I've spent my whole life as a man of God. I've spent my whole life as a Christian. I've spent my whole life, I'm 43, I'm 50. Why do I have to live this at this age? Maybe you are right. Maybe God does not exist. But some people will frankly tell you, I don't care. Right? Like, I think there's a relative of mine, I even say this guy isn't even a Christian. But he goes to church. After church, and it's not even a Catholic church, he goes to a Protestant church. After church, he just passes by the Makoba, he has his 2 beers, goes home. And then one day he was telling me, like Christianity or religion gives you this sense of community, this sense of that. So he knows, he kind of knows, I think. But he's like, he has kids, right? He has raised them in Christianity. He is in his 50s, if I'm not wrong. So he's like, if I were to live religion today, what about my kids? Like they have grown up following my example. So there's that kind of, some sort of an attachment which makes it difficult for people to live. I don't know which was the other reason. Yeah. Really. Hope. hope and resilience. Mm-hmm. The minds are tricky organs. The system that is called you, that is called me, the self, is tricky business. Like the mind kind of wants things to turn out okay. In the background, even if you claim to be hopeless, even if you claim that hope is useless, the mind somehow in the background wants things to turn okay. And then now comes religion, which assures you it's going to be okay. So that kind of hope, that kind of receive the hope bit of it. Religion gives that hope, and so people are like, well, my life is in shambles, my life isn't going well, but I believe God is going to do it for me. So people stick to that. And now the resilience part, I think some people have spoken about mental health. One of the things I actually tend to sometimes agree with the religion is the fact that it can actually help, even if it's delusion. But there's that kind of a placebo effect which helps people in such a way. It cushions your distress, it cushions your stress, it cushions your depression. That's why many times you hear that atheism and lack of belief is actually associated with high rates of mental health crises, all those things, depression and all that. Because religion actually does help. It does offer some sort of comfort. So you find yourself, you are in a mess, But because you are not facing the reality, yes, it's falsehood. You are not facing the reality that the only solution that is going to come is the solution that I provide or people can provide. The kind of delusion I'm speaking about is where someone believes that somehow God is going to come and help me out of this. So it gives you that, it's falsehood in a way, but it actually helps you, keeps you moving. So religion or other people tend to stay because of that. Okay? It gives you the boldness to face challenges, the boldness to face difficulties, the boldness to face things that maybe if you weren't using religion as your backup, you wouldn't face them as efficiently.
Somali, Yemen, Afghanistan, Saudi Arabia, and many more will give you a life sentence. They will punish you by killing you if you become an apostate. So when people are aware of that, they won't leave. They won't leave. Even if they know that Allah and Muhammad are false, they just will not leave that religion. But we also have blasphemy laws in about 23 countries worldwide. When you blaspheme, when you say anything negative against the Prophet Muhammad or Allah, you will do time, you'll be imprisoned. So that shields society from diverse opinions. They grow up believing that Islam is true, and because of the blasphemy laws, they never hear contradictory information. So they will never leave it, they will never question it.
In political, they also drag people behind, or they make people to stay in falsehood because of that politics. It's just the way even the politician, like me, if I want to become a politician in our area, I will first go to a church, to a prominent pastor. He or she pray to me in front of cameras, so that the people may understand or may think I have just converted to a religion that they believe in, so that I may be able to gain their vote for political issues. So, and many politicians, they pretend to be religious, and some even they pretend they believe all religion. You find like president is in a mosque, the other day is in Catholic, the other day is in a Protestant church, because he's trying to win vote. It's not after the religious things, but it's after his own interest. So politics is making people to stay in religion because it's where the majority are.
So for me, what I would say as a conclusion, solutions. I think in schools, they should not do that in schools. Religion should not be taught in schools. Then give kids time to grow. At such an age, then tell them they can have a choice. Don't force kids to be Christians, Muslims when they are young. Let them grow up. When they can think for themselves, give them a choice. Thank you.
Okay, also now, before we go on to the solutions, I wanted to talk about one more reason of that makes a lot of people finding it hard to live religion is this thing of God of the gaps fallacy, where they apply a lot of uncritical thinking, where there are a lot of things that science has not proven yet, or science has not given a solution yet. So they put, since science cannot explain this or that, then they place God in that gap. That's why we call it God of the gaps fallacy. Like science has not explained where it came from, science has not fully explained where this or that came. So they place God in that situation, which makes them find it hard to live religion. Maybe those days they thought thunderstorms before science realized where thunderstorms came, or how the sun. It's actually the sun it is actually the earth that moves and not the sun. Those days people used to assume, I don't know, it is God who moves the sun from east to west. So this God of the gaps fallacy, this uncritical thinking, it's another reason that makes
people remain in religion. Which now brings me to my solutions. The solutions are, number one, you should avoid this thing called, you should avoid indoctrinating children. Let children have, make their own choice of when they are now of age. They should now make their own choice, but I guess the religious will never accept that, since they say I raised this child on my own, so whatever religion he goes to must be mine. And another solution, I think I gave it out. When you are teaching religious education in schools, it should be taught as one subject, whether it is Christianity, Hinduism, Confucianism, Islam. It should be taught as one subject, so that people, children can learn that there are other gods beside their gods. There are other religions beside their own religion, and when they realize that, I think their mind broadens up to know that they stop living in a vacuum, thinking that it is just their God that is responsible for everything. They should know there are other people. They also think the same of their own gods. So when they have that, I think at least they'll apply some critical thinking. But unfortunately, when you indoctrinate a child from the very beginning, and also when they are doing religious education, they do the same thing. Their critical thinking is affected. That's why when I am debating with a lot of Christians or Muslims, everything they think of, the Bible says this or that. They can't think on their own. Anything you think about, you must link it to the Bible, which is very uncritical. Thank you.
I think there's not any particular solution, because I think when you already know that there is no God, there is no way you can unknow that. Whether you continue going to the church, whether you continue joining a community there's no way you can unknow. So you keep knowing that you don't believe. Whether you decide to call yourself an atheist, a skeptic, or whatever, you don't believe. That is that. But if you want a community, you can join us. It's a wonderful community.
And part of the solution, my sister has invited you to the society. I'm also inviting you and give you this solution. When I was a Christian, in case of a headache, for example, I would touch my head and say, in Jesus' name, I don't know, there is what you say, that by the stroke in Calvary, I was healed. And then after some times, the headache, but then I will say, oh, Jesus heals. Since I left the church, I don't even get healed. And when I'm healed, when I'm sick, I don't pray. I just, as my sister says, body has the healing mechanism, or you go to hospital. About getting the hope, as my brother said, and the comfort. You don't need the pastor to comfort you. In fact, you can. That is the brain operation. There is something we call amygdala. It's a part of the brain. There is a way the brain wiring works. So now you don't need to go to pastor, because pastor will give you the false hopes. Atakupatia matumaini ya uongo, akwambie hata kama hujalipa nyumba, hata kama hujakula, Yesu ako kwa kiti.
As a person who is deconstructing your faith, you've already seen the holes in religion, but you're wondering now, what do I do? Where do I get community? We as Skeptics and Atheists Society of Kenya are a growing group. We target all the Kenyans and Africans who are non-believers. So you can find us on our socials, on Facebook, on TikTok, on even this YouTube channel as Skeptics and Atheists Society of Kenya. Please give us a DM and join us. Today, if you don't live in Nairobi, it's okay. You can still join us online. We often have Friday Zoom meetings. They're about 3 to 4 hours long. So at least you can be able to commune with us. Then throughout the week, we discuss a lot of issues on WhatsApp, and it has opened up our minds to become critical thinkers. We also hold outdoor hangouts. it's kind of like our Sunday service, but it's once a month, every first Sunday of the month. Please show up to our events, follow us on our socials, and you'll see when our next outdoor hangout is. If you're still not comfortable showing yourself as an atheist, because we appreciate the fact that society stigmatizes and discriminates against non-believers, so some people are not open atheists. It's okay, you can just give us a heads up and we'll not take photos of you during the outdoor hangout. And even in this video shoot, there are some people who have not appeared in the video shoot, but they will eat lunch with us. We'll cook with them and we'll have lunch with them. We'll hang out. So we support ourselves. We have a good time with each other, and we also support each other when we are struggling. For instance, if you've lost a loved one, maybe you are bereaved or you are ill or something to that effect, or even when you're looking for a job opportunity, you will find those networks in our midst. Some of us are working in powerful positions in government, and others are in the diaspora. We have dollars or we have euros out there. So come and join our society. Don't stay in something you don't believe because of community, because there is a secular community.